Everyone thought this would play out predictably. They assumed pressure would break her. They thought silence would intimidate her. They believed leverage was in their corner. They were dead wrong. The WNBA didn't just underestimate Caitlin Clark, they completely misread her. For weeks, the league thought it was playing a familiar game. Push, wait, apply pressure quietly. They'd seen stars bend. They'd watched rookies fold. They'd watched noise fade once the system stayed firm. So, they tried the same play again. What they didn't understand, Caitlin Clark wasn't reacting. Not publicly, not emotionally. Behind the scenes, everything was tense, but not dramatic. Not explosive, calculated. Sources close to the situation say league insiders genuinely expected her to blink eventually. They thought the spotlight would weigh too heavy, that pressure would force her hand. It never did. No statement, no demand, no emotional flair, just silence. And in games of power, silence is far more terrifying than noise. It signals one undeniable truth: someone isn't afraid. The union expected tension. They expected drama. They expected reactions they could manipulate. Instead, they got nothing.
Around that time, I feel like most of the fans were on the side of the players. And as this has all kind of played out, the tables have turned a little bit because we've heard too much. There's been a lot of drama. And like Rebecca Lobo said, like their words that they choose in some of these press releases and some of the social media posts, I've told you guys, it feels a little childish to me. Like there are some things they've said like stop playing games, or like putting lipstick on a pig, or it's a slap in the face. And it's all of these, I don't know, it's things that you would say if you're in an argument with a friend.
Meanwhile, something critical was unfolding. Without her, ratings stalled. Momentum stalled. Energy flatlined. The league was technically running, but it didn't feel alive. And that's when the gamble happened. Sources say a quiet line was crossed, not announced, not formal, just a signal meant to test her resolve. They expected a reaction. They expected a crack. It never came. Caitlin Clark didn't flinch. She showed up. She played. She existed in the spotlight without batting an eye. And that's when panic finally set in.
Players are the people that are on the committee. Let's be completely real. The most important player in CBA negotiations is Caitlin Clark. The second most important player in CBA negotiations is not necessarily Caitlin Clark, or say obviously not Caitlin Clark. It's Angel Reese. The third most important player is Sabrina Ionescu. The fourth most important player, AJ Wilson. Fifth most important player, Paige Beckers. And maybe if you want to put Paige Beckers at third, fair enough. They are the most important players. The most important brand is Nike, who own a decent chunk of the NBA, of the WNBA. They own a decent chunk of it. They are so important, and this sums it up here.
Because the move meant to apply pressure backfired. Instead of forcing her hand, it revealed the truth. The league needed her far more than she needed them. Internal conversations shifted overnight. The tone softened. Confidence cracked. Certainty vanished. When you call a bluff and nothing happens, you realize it wasn't a bluff at all. It was control. And Caitlin Clark had it. Effortlessly, without asking for it. Sources close to the union say frustration started creeping in. Not in public, but behind closed doors. Because how do you push someone who won't react? How do you apply pressure to someone unafraid of the consequences?
Called, the sand things that you flip over and it's like a timer. So they changed their profile picture to that. And they did that when the deadline was approaching for the last CBA deadline. I also think it's just maybe a little bit childish. I don't know. But this is what they posted. They said what it would look like to pay WNBA players what they deserve. And this was the slide that caught everybody's attention. It says the 2025 WNBA season has set records for attendance, both in total and per game, even before the playoffs. More than 3 million fans have flocked to see stars like A'ja Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces and Alyssa Thomas of the Phoenix Mercury. By many measures, it's been the most successful season in league history, but the players aren't fully sharing in that success. And a lot of people were pointing it out, you name somebody like A'ja, you name somebody like Alyssa Thomas, but why aren't you mentioning Caitlin Clark? Why aren't you mentioning the person who continues to have the highest viewership, the highest attendance, all of these things, even when she was injured? Because again, she played 13 games this past season. She didn't play very much, but when she was injured and she was still going to away games, she was signing autographs for an hour before the game even started. You would see on the television, whether it was a home fever game, away fever game, Caitlin Clark would.
You can't fight that. That's when reality hit. This wasn't about a strike anymore. It wasn't about leverage. It wasn't about power plays. It was about relevance. Without Caitlin Clark, the league felt quieter, smaller, less urgent, and everyone noticed. That's why the messaging softened. That's why the tone shifted. That's why urgency replaced confidence. Not because Caitlin demanded anything, because the system had tested her and failed. The most dangerous part? She never celebrated it. No victory lap. No smug reaction. She just stayed calm. And calm is the loudest flex. It says everything without saying a word. I don't need to react. You already did. This wasn't a loud collapse. It was a slow, inevitable one.
Of a Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese talking as if it's a guarantee how important that is. Because at the end of the day, these are players that Nike, Reebok, these big brands are kind of like Nike are putting a lot of stock in Caitlin Clark. Like there's a lot going into Caitlin Clark. I think this Team USA camp, and imagine if Team USA fuck about and don't pick Caitlin Clark. Nike on the spot would probably just drop them. The rumor is, again, this is a complete online rumor I'm seeing on Twitter. This doesn't mean anything. But the rumor is that the Caitlin Clark shoe is going to be revealed during a Super Bowl commercial. That is what the rumor is. That is going to be revealed during the Super Bowl, which is what, like, I'm just trying to think when it comes down to it. When is the Super Bowl?
A quiet realization started spreading through meetings and phone calls. The league didn't hold the power it thought it had. And once that truth sank in, everything shifted. That's why this moment matters. Not for the words spoken, not for any announcement, but for what didn't happen. Pressure was applied. Moves were made. And Caitlin Clark didn't flinch. That's when the balance of power quietly, irreversibly, changed.